Bueno, buenos días a todos. ¿Qué tal? Bienvenidos a esta sesión que hemos preparado aquí en el Ágora de Telefónica. Mi nombre es Bruno.
Hello, my name is Bruno Lago, and I'm in the business development team in Telefónica. More specifically, I'm an expert in virtual assistants, and that's what we are here to talk about. Juan, thank you for being here. As you said, you are in the virtual assistant side, and I'm an expert in digital workers, boots, call them whatever you want. And I believe there's a match between our areas of expertise. That's why we're here together, because I believe we are quite complementary when it comes to automation. Let's kick off and let's start discussing how we're gonna give you some background. The European Next Generation funds are here. When we want to interact with public administrations, we want an agile and effective attention, don't we all? So we'll speak about what we already mentioned in the previous edition of the Mobile World Conference. We'll do a short summary about virtual assistants, RPAs. We're gonna end with a demonstration, because a session without a demo is pointless. And beyond the demo, we'll see how applications in RPAs and virtual assistants are very heterogeneous, so we'll discuss about how to implement it, and we'll close with some conclusions. So let's start with the European Next Generation funds. The European Next Generation funds is a trending topic in public administrations. I believe that the modernization of public administrations will be possible thanks to the new generation funds, in order to, upgrade them, modernize them. There are 4 objectives: improving accessibility to digital services, which, as a result of COVID-19, have had a negative impact. It's more and more difficult to have access to digital services. Then there's a second objective, which is closing the digital gap, improving efficiency of public workers, because let's remember that technology is there to help us all, not to replace us. And it's also about using emerging technologies, robotization and virtual assistants. So let's focus on virtual assistants now. All public administrations or local administrations need to have a platform, and that's why there are virtual assistants to look for efficiencies and develop alternative channels to assist citizens. If we had to define what a virtual assistant is, we would define it as a chat box designed for users or public workers. From Telefónica, in the projects that we implement, we are agnostic, both in terms of the attention channel, be it phone, message application, social networks, even in Teams, and we are also agnostic when it comes to the cognitive engine. We have the capacity to train the robot in any cognitive engine. It can be integrated or not with the contact center. There is a draft bill on the topic that refers precisely to the importance of digital assistants being integrated with the contact center. Now, if we see a big picture about what a virtual assistant is, I believe this is a very illustrative image. There's an analogy with human beings, because at the end of the day, the most important we have as humans is our brain. The brain is the one in charge of recognizing interactions, inputs received from users, and giving an answer depending on the training we provide the virtual assistant with. But of course, we need to receive inputs through our eyes, through our ears, and being able to communicate via voice. And that's where we have channels. Phone channel, messaging apps, web apps, and social networks. And we'll choose one channel or another depending on the user using our virtual assistant. It can be citizens, but of course not all citizens are the same. We need to make a clear distinction here, or civil servants also. We've talked about the channels, eyes, ears, mouth, the cognitive engine, the brain, but we are lacking the hands, right? Because a cognitive engine per se is not capable of doing anything unless there are integrations, a connection with a CPRM or with a contact center in order to be able to transfer all this to an agent. In the world of RPAs, well, what is this world about? I really like the comparison you did. If your technology is the, well, RPAs are the executing arm. Well, at the end of the day, we are automating repetitive tasks, administrative tasks, because of course in public administrations, everything is extremely regulated. It's one of the most regulated sectors, so it's very easy to somehow systematize it, right? How does an RPI interact with citizens? Well, citizens ask for things, and, well, the RPA asks the robot to verify data, etc. We are automating the back end. If we had a virtual assistant where we launch a query and there was no automation, we would need a person behind centralizing the search, or, well, why is it so interesting? Because at the end of the day, what we do is to avoid complex developments or modifications in critical systems for the company. At the end of the day, you can connect a virtual assistant to any other system through an API, but let's say there's no API or it's not fine-tuned and it entails complexities. The good thing about the RPAs is that it's a bot that imitates humans. It will click wherever we need to click, it will access to a website, etc. And this is the magic. We will have to provide the RPA as with credentials, as if it were a person. I believe this is a way to increase productivity, to enhance productivity. This end-to-end automation means that the system can work 24/7. It will enhance quality. If the learning model is sound, the system will act accordingly with no mistakes. We'll see in the demo the speed of the system. We'll have the control of the software because there's, well, a software means that there's a lock behind. So we're thinking about agility, efficiency, and customer satisfaction, and employee satisfaction, because employees will be removed of boring, repetitive tasks, and employees will be there to be creative, to think, which is what us human beings can do, and what differentiates us from machines. What we can see here is that the RPA is very cool, it's an amazing technology, but careful, because there is no one-size-fits-all solution. We need to see who is it that we are interacting. Virtual assistants and robotization are there to close the digital gap, not to widen it. Let me share an image with you. Do you know this person, does it ring a bell? I am sure you've seen him in newspapers, in TV, Carlos San Juan, a retired doctor that has shaken the government and banks, complaining about financial exclusion amongst the elderly who feel left behind by the banking sector. The elderly could not find a channel to communicate with banks and being able to be treated like digital natives. And reality is that Carlos has obtained a commitment from banks so that the elderly can be treated as they deserve. Actually, 13% of the elderly, of people more than 75 years old, only use online banking. Only 13%. Less than 10% of the elderly knows how to book a medical appointment online. So the relationship with the digital device needs to be smooth when it comes to setting a medical appointment. In Telefónica, we saw that in our phone 1004, we had to treat our elderly as they deserve. 20% of the Spanish population is over 65 years old, so we need to prioritize attention channels for them. In March 2020, we realized about this need, and we tried to solve it through URB, the initial speech that you get when you receive when you call an attention service. So if you press 1, so everyone calls and presses 1, so this doesn't solve the problem. What is it we did through nuanced technology? What we do, and we still do it, is to verify the age through voice biometrics. So you don't need to set up a UR where you press a number, but rather through voice we identify whether the person is older than 65 or not, and whether we're speaking with a man or a woman. We have achieved that with a set of 2,000 audios only. It's not like we have to store the footprint. With 2,500 audios, the system is trained, and we obtain efficiencies of 90 to 95% in the identification of age and gender. Actually, it's in the press. We have prioritized 5.7 customers calling through this technology thanks to the use of artificial intelligence implemented to this aim. So it's very important to be able to establish specific channels depending on the customers calling us. I agree with you. I believe that this applies to any technology. Technology per se has no value. What really matters is to provide it with a certain sense or meaning. A company will not become very digital because it has plenty of tools. No, it's all about being sure that people using technology feel comfortable. This is key. Exactly, and that's why we have prepared a demo which focuses on citizen attention. And I believe that the demo is going to be now screened, and we'll see how we develop a virtual assistant, in this case, for the Salamanca City Council. I don't know if you can see the screen. Can you see the screen? Perfect. Good.
So here we have Telegram. I've opened it in the browser, but we can have it in a smartphone too. And we have developed a virtual assistant using Google, using Dialogflow, and deployed in Telegram. So it's like a bot for the municipality of Salamanca. So we are going to start talking to the bot, and when they receive the first input, they are welcoming us. They tell us that it is telling us that it is the virtual assistant, and here you can see some of the cases where you can use this virtual assistant, like for example when we want to ask for license for works or the municipal registry, or for example a booking, or also information about the registry. So it is trained so that everything related to the system is telling us information about this land registry. So land registry, as I was saying a moment ago, this is the case I want to show to you. So the virtual assistant is giving me information about the land registry, about a building or a plot. So it's telling me where the province or the region where this building is in Salamanca, in which municipality. I like jamón very much, so we are going to say Guijuelo. And now information about the number of the polygon. I'm going to write down 508. And the assistant is collecting all this information, and as Juan said, using robotization, RPA is going to go to the systems, the back-end system. It's going to make these demands with all these parameters. And then the plot number, 5259. And it collected all the information, and it is very fast in giving me the information. It is located in the 508 polygon plot, the number I gave to 8 in the municipality of Guijuelo in Salamanca. It is rustic and it's agrarian use, and the land registry reference and its surface. So you might think, well, Bruno, I can go to the website and I can find it. But with a virtual assistant, you can have all the services of a public administration, and you can have it in this assistant, and it can be consulted by anyone. And behind all this, these are an RPA process, because in the end, this is fantastic, this virtual assistant answering your question, and for example, information about the municipality, and but sometimes I need different inputs. So who is validating the information, and who has access to the browser, who is introducing this data, and who is collecting this demand? So it is true that we can do this through an API, but in public administration, there are a lot of systems that are untouchable, because maybe they belong to the DGT or the tax return system, so it is very difficult to organize all this, and this is the key in RPA. So how can we, if I don't have option to connect with API, and this is very simple, it is a system that can be a CRM, but it is an environment. So we are going to see, and with an important velocity. And I have recorded it, and this way you can see how it works. So we launch a lot of demands, and as you can see, if we go to the right, this is the software that we use in order to design this robot. And it is very simple to understand. It's using blocks, and you don't need to write down any code. So just introducing the URL. So it's reading data, launching the browser, collecting information. So if we go back, the first one that Bruno showed, if I move forward, I can see that in just milliseconds I have introduced all the information. These 4 pieces of information. So opening up the browser, introducing the URL, and copying this information, and then we obtain a lot of information. So I have trained the bot so that it gives me the information I need. And the polygon, the reference, and also for a bot. And also, as I said in the beginning, if you see this, I am stopping now the bot, and you will see these logs. So we see clearly what we had, and the robot is talking to me, and it is very easy to audit it. And I hope that everything is clear. And I think that when things are seen, they can be understood. And there is a wide variety of cases. And if we go back to the presentation, you will see where we can apply RPA. And now you can share the presentation again. There are other cases, like Juan said, and we have divided them in 2 blocks. And any virtual assistant can help us to give this general information. So it answers to frequently asked questions, and then we have the personalized information for the citizen. Very focused on this concrete demand. So we have general information, like, for example, the land registry, but also the cultural agenda of our municipality or our region. And also we can identify everything related to mobility, leisure, social services. So all this information that is general can be included in a virtual assistant. And then the other part, the personalized one, uses some examples. So there is a wide variety. And also saying, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what happened. And so we don't have enough information. So what's going on? Is there something missing? There are some bots that get into the files, they see the status, and they notify the user. This is very important. And so Amazon is telling me where the different intermediary points before it gets to my home. And this is already in our everyday life. So the citizen demands it. So similar cases and many more, like, for example, that it verifies and checks the subsidy, for example, or, for example, the garbage fees. All these can be automatized, and if I say the bot to have access to the information about the user, and then I define these algorithms, and then it is the civil servant who is going to confirm everything, but we don't complicate the life of the civil servant. More examples. For example, conciliation of payments. So we all know that when we need to pay a tax, we have to go to the bank, and then the bank, you can use different banks, and then the banks give this list and need to conciliate these payments, and they do this manually. And when you are being like 4 hours comparing it, you can get tired and make mistakes, and all this can be automated. And I can give you many examples. And now it's time, and we need to find the context, and also we've seen a summary of these virtual assistants when we talk about RPA and different cases. So we can have a conclusion or a summary. So what do we have? We see that technology, the virtual assistants, together with RPA, offer us a better service and better quality and better times for the citizen. So, as Juanma said, also for the civil servant, we are helping the civil servants, the public officials, we are helping them. Everything is going to be easy for them, and it's the robots in charge of this. And also all the public services for the citizens. We can reach all citizens, and in any case they can do it from anywhere. And this is the most important thing. To know if there are any questions. We will be around, so if you have any questions, we are at your disposal. And if not, we can have a virtual assistant. Thank you.
Pues nada,